So 673. Review of the entire book. Ready, guys? 4 plus 5 times 6. Order of operations. Which one do you do first?
The multiplication.
Yep, it's PEMDAS, the order of operations. Parentheses, exponents, multiplications or divisions, addition or subtractions. 1, 2, 3, 4. Parentheses first, I don't have anything. Exponent, I don't have anything. Multiplication or division, yes. I gotta do the 5 times 6. So it's 4 plus, what is 5 times 6? 30. No more multiplications or divisions. Any additions or subtractions? Yes. 4 plus 30, 34. A. And by the way, if you're wondering where the question's coming from, you see that number here? That says 101. That's chapter 1. 102, chapter 2. Next to each one. So the next question here, 9 over 7 plus 3 over 5. Well, we can't add if these numbers are the same, if the denominators are the same. So I need to find the common denominator, which is what? 35? We have to multiply the 7 by what to make it 35? 5. The 9, that would be 45 here. You got to multiply the 5 by 7 to make it 35. 3 times 7? 21. And now, since the two numbers in the bottoms are the same, 45 plus 21, which is what? 66 over 35. And notice that's the first answer. All the numbers are, these two are improper fraction. I guess they have no problem with that. I don't see any mixed numbers. So there's no reason for you to convert that to 1 and whatever, 34 or 24 over 35. Or 31 over 35, whatever the case is. So you leave it like that. But if you wanted to convert that, you go 66 divided by 35, which is 1. 1 times the 35 is 35. 5 from 6 is 1. 3 from 6 is 3. So it's 1 and 31 over the 35. But notice again, none of these numbers are mixed numbers. So just a waste of my time. Next one, number 3. Divide. 16 divided by 7 and 2 over 5. Let me first convert these to improper fraction. That's 16 over 1 divided by, bless you, 5 times 7, 35 and 2, 37 over 5. And if you remember how we do division, is keep, change, change. Keep the first one, change the division to multiplications, and change this one. Flip it. 5 over 37. (16 times 5 is 80. 1 times 37 is 37. Now I look at these numbers and I see mixed numbers. See them? The answers? So I need to convert that to mixed numbers. 80 divided by 37. 2. 2 times 7, 14. That's 74. The remainder is what? 6? So that's 2 and 6 over 37. Do we have that? Right here. Question number 4. It says 4 plus y equals 12. Solve. Remember when we solve and you want all the variables on one side, all the numbers on the opposite side. So that plus 4 is on the wrong side here. I can either move it to that side, make it a negative 4, or I can subtract 4 from both sides. Y equals what? 12 minus the 4, which is what? 8? Question number 5. In case you can't read it, 1/3 s equals 12. Now we have multiplications. That's 1/3 times s. What is the opposite to multiplications? Division. S equals what? 12 divided by 1/3. Which means 12 over 1 divided, change the division to multiplications, flip the second number, 3 over 1. Now multiply these fractions. 12 times 3 is what? 36 over 1, which is 36. Do we have a 36? Yes. Number 6. A plane travels 377 miles on 58 gallons of gas. How many miles per gallon does the plane get? Miles per gallon. Per means divide in math. Miles is written first, so 377, that's the miles. Per means divided by the gallons, 58. So let's go to the side, divide them. 377 over 58. Keep in mind there's a decimal point, lots of zeros if you need them. I don't know if I need them or not. Let me start with, because the reason I'm thinking 6 here, because this number is close to what? 60, right? So I'm looking at the answer, I see 6 and 8. If I use 8, what's 8 times 60? 480 is too big, right? But if I use 6, what's 6 times 60? 360, very close to that number. So that's how I decide what to use. Let's try 6. 6 times 8 is 48. 6 times 5, 30 and 4 is what? 34. 8 from 17. Is that a 9? 4 from 6. What's 4 from 6? 2. Now bring that 0 down. 290. Could it be 5? 5 times 8, 40. 0 carry 4. 5 times 5, 25, and 4 is 29. So it's 6.5. The New York Yankees score 350 runs in their first 100 games. If they keep up the same pace, how many runs will they score for the complete 162 game season? We can do proportion. 350, I'm putting runs on the top, games on the bottom. So runs on the top, games on the bottom. 350 runs in 100 games. If they keep up the same pace, that means that they're equal to How many runs that's unknown will they score in 162 games? Cross multiply, but before you cross multiply, if you want to simplify first, you can. You can make life a little easy on yourself. I can drop the 0, just looking at this fraction alone, 350 over 100. I can drop the 0 out of both of them. That becomes 35 over 10, right? Can I simplify 35 over 10? I can divide it by 5. By 5, this is what? 7. By 5, this is what? 2. So you can at least make the number smaller. Now cross multiplying. 2x equals 162 times 7. 162 times 7. 1134. Now to solve for x, what are we going to do? Divide both sides by 2. So over 500, it's 567 runs. Did you have to simplify here? Absolutely not. But then you got to multiply 350 times 162. So if you simplify, at least you make your numbers a little bit smaller. Find the percent notation. Notice this is a decimal number. You want to change it to a percent. In case you forgot, percent to decimal, decimal to percent. Let me take you back. Write the alphabets. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U. I don't know why I made Q capital letter, but that's okay. So D for decimal, P for percent. If you remember that. Decimal begins with the letter D. Percent begins with the letter P. Notice this one. You have a decimal number. Find percent notation. That means you want to change it to a percent. You have a decimal. You want to change it to a percent. You're always going to move the decimal point 2 places. The question, which direction? You are a decimal. You want to go to percent. Which way? To the right. So move your decimal point 2 places to the right. That becomes what? 81.5%. Do we have 81.5%? B. Number 9. Translate, do not solve. What number is? Is always what? Equal. Of is always what? Multiply. What number? N, X, Y, unknown. Is 7% times 240. Do we have one that looks like that? B. It says don't solve it. Number 10. Food expenses take 23% of family income. 23% of the income. A family makes $900 per month. What does that number represent? Isn't that their income? So food is going to be 23% of the 900. Of in math means what? Multiplying. So 23% times 900. Now again, that number is percent. If you want to multiply it, you got to change it to a decimal. From percent to a decimal, what do? You move the decimal point how many places? 2. Now right now the decimal point where? There's no decimal point. So what do you think the decimal point is? If there's none. If I have a number with no decimal point like this, 23, where's my decimal point? Always at the end. If it's at the end, we don't put it. So you got to move it 2 places. 1, 2. That number becomes what? 0.23 times the 900. If you do the math, that's 207. So the family is going to spend $207 that month on food. That's question 10. We still got a few more. The last test has 25 questions on it, so it does take a little bit longer to finish. The sum of a negative number and 0 is the sum of a negative number and 0. Let's try sum. What's negative 5 plus 0? Negative 5. What's negative 7 plus 0? What's negative 100 plus 0? So it says, look at the answers. They all happen to be what? Negative. That's what they're looking for. I also asked them yesterday to change the answer to this because that's also a correct answer. I told them to change it. Whoever wrote this question screwed up on it. Because saying the sign of the number with the greater absolute value. That's still correct. When you look at these two numbers, which one has greater absolute value? This one. What's the absolute value of negative 5? 5. What's the sign of that number? Negative. What's the absolute value of negative 7? 7. What's the sign of that? 7. Same thing. So that's really a correct answer. I know they were looking for this, so you will not see this written anymore. They might change a little bit there, but that's also a valid answer. They were looking for this. I know that because you can see the answer is D. But if you put that one in this case, that would have been correct. We fixed it. Negative 3 plus a negative 3, what's that? You adding numbers the same sign. When they're the same sign, you add them and keep the sign. So when you add the absolute values of the number, what's 3 plus 3? 6, and what's the sign? Negative. Negative 9 minus 7, subtraction. If you remember, we use Karen can't cook. Keep, change, change for subtraction. Keep, change, change. That becomes a negative 9, change, and change. You change the sign to addition, you take the opposite of that number. Now again, you're adding two numbers of the same sign. You add the absolute values of these numbers. What's 7 and 9? Is that 16? And what's the sign? Negative. Order of operations. Again, we saw it early. Bring it again. PEMDAS. Exponents first. Parentheses first. Exponents second. Multiplication, division third. Addition, subtractions fourth. Can you simplify what's inside the parentheses of any of these? No. There's only one single number inside the parentheses, so you can't really simplify that. Can we do exponents? Yes. Right here. So that'll be 2 times, what is negative 3 squared? Plus or minus? Plus. Because it's negative 3 times a negative 3. When you square in something, you multiply it by itself. A negative times a negative, that's a positive 9. So that's the result of the first step. We did the exponents. Do we have any multiplications or divisions? Yes. I see multiplications, left to right. 2 times 9, 18, plus, what's 4 times a negative 3? A positive times a negative is what? Negative 12. Very good. Minus the 7. No more multiplications or divisions. Any additions or subtractions? Yes. Left to right. Let's do this one first. What's 18 plus a negative 12? Different sign. You subtract 12 from 18, which is what? 6, and what's the sign of that number? Positive. Minus the 7. Again, now you have subtraction. Subtraction becomes keep, change, change. Keep, change, change. Opposite sign. Subtract the number with a smaller absolute value from the other one. 6 from 7, which is what? 1. The result is negative 1. Do we have a minus 1? Yes. (15) minus 2 cubed minus 3 squared. You want to multiply them. Let's do minus 2 cubed first. Let's find out what that number is. That means negative 2 times a negative 2 times a negative 2. An odd number of negative sign will produce a negative result. An odd number always negative, an even number always positive. What's 2 times 2 times 2? 2 times 2? 4 times 2? 8. So that's a minus 8. Let me look at the negative 3 squared. That means what? Negative 3 times a negative 3. An even number of negative signs. An even number, the result is positive. 3 times 3? 9. So now your answer becomes, what's negative 8 times 9? A positive times a negative, that's an odd number of negative sign. If it's odd, the result is negative. And what's 9 times 8? 72, and we have it. B. Let's look at 16. It says, what is P divided by negative P? Well, let's pick a number for P. Let's take a 7. What is 7 divided by negative 7? What is it? I didn't hear you. Would you say positive 1? Try again. An odd number of negative sign, the result is always what? Negative. If you made P negative 5, what's negative 5 divided by the opposite of negative 5, which is 5? What's a negative 5 divided by 5? Try again. Negative 1. 12. If you let P be 12, what's 12 over negative 12? Negative 1. If you let P equals negative 50, what's negative 50 over the opposite of negative 50, which is 50? So what do you notice? Your answer is always what? -1. When you divide the number by the opposite of that number, the result is always a -1. A positive divided by a negative is always a negative. Anytime you have an odd number for multiplication and division, an odd number of negative signs, the result is always negative. Now, this is back to chapter 8 now here. Troy got the following scores in bowling: 205, 198, 203. What was his mean? The mean is what do we do? You add the values and you divide by the number of values. We only have 3 numbers. So if I add them, 205 plus 198 plus 203, that's 606 divided by 3, which will be what? 202. That was his average. Find the mode. The mode means the most frequent. Which number? Let me write the numbers again. 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 6, 6, 8. Which number or numbers showed up more often than the rest of them? I see 2 of them. See them? My mode is actually 2 modes. 2, 6. Both are modes. They both showed up more often than the rest of the numbers. When you go take a test, remember to grab one of the handouts. The handout that has the unit conversion on it. It's sitting there. It's in pink color, I think. And we need that's this sheet here. You're going to need it. So let's see. Convert 9 miles to feet. So 9 miles, we're going to make it over 1. I'm always going to multiply. Since miles on the top, I want miles on the bottom, feet on the top. And I'm going to look at my cheat sheet here. And it says 1 mile has how many feet? 5,280 feet in it. 1 mile has 5,280 feet. Now you multiply the 9 times 5,280, and that's 47,520 over 1, which is what? 47,520 feet. This one, dm to m. Again, that's this sheet. Decameters, dm, that's this one. This is DAM. Remember, this is DAM. The underline under D and A. This is just D. This is the DM. And you want to go to this one, which is the meter. You want to go from here to there. You're going to move the decimal point which way? 1 place to the left. So here's my number, 82. My decimal point is here. Move it 1 place to the left. That becomes what? 8.2 meters. D. (21) Convert 33 feet. That's over 1. and you want to multiply it, you want to convert that from feet to meters. Now, this handout I gave you doesn't have that on it, but the one in the Math Center does. And when you look on the right, you'll see one that says 1 meter equals approximately like this, 3.3 feet. 1 meter, approximately 3.3 feet. That one has it, so you don't have to know that one. It's on that cheat sheet. So knowing that, plug it in. 1 meter is 3.3. So this will be 33 times 1, which is what? 33 over 1 times 3.3. Now again, remember my decimal point for the 33 at the end. We don't like to see numbers in the bottom with decimal point in them if you want to divide them. So you're going to move the decimal point one place to the right. You're going to move this one place to the right. So the answer becomes what? 330 divided by 33, which is a 10. Almost done.
How come when you moved it, how come you didn't have to put meters on the bottom?
Because feet on the top, you need feet on the bottom.
Because like the way you did it on number 19.
19 miles on the top, you want miles on the bottom. You always want to cancel them out, right? That's why if it's whatever you have on the top goes on the bottom here. So here I had the answer. The question was in feet. So this is what I have. It goes on the bottom. What you want is always on the top. Find the area of a circle. Again, you don't have to scratch your head. I forgot to memorize it. Right here. The area of a circle is what? Pi r squared. That cheat sheet has it. Area equals pi r squared. Now the r squared means r times r. And it says for pi, use 22 over 7 here. And what was r for this example? Is it 14? So times 14 twice. That's the reason why they told you to use 22 over 7. Because the 14 and the 7 both divisible by what? By 7. By 7 this is 1. By 7 this is what? 2. So your answer is 22 times 2 times 14. 22 times 2 is what? 44 times the 14, which is 616. And the unit's always meter squared. Do we have 616? And the last one, the last page, when I say the last one, this has 25 questions. We have a piece of land that's 40 by 35 meters. Then you had a swimming pool put in that's 25 by 10. And the question, how much area is left? We're looking for that area. What's that area? Well, let's begin with the piece of land, the lot that you have there. What's the area of that lot? Wasn't it 40 times 35? Before you dug the hole in it for the pool? What's 40 times 35? 1,400. Then you brought a bulldozer, bobcat, whatever you decide to use, and you dug a hole for the swimming pool. What's the area of the pool now? That's a rectangular shape. That's 25 times 10, which is what? 250? So what's the area that's left? It is the pool subtracted from the lot. The 1,400 minus the 250, which is what? Is that 1150? $11.50. So is the area of the land. Take away from it the hole we dug for the pool. $24. We have a cube that looks like this. Cube means all sides are equal. And each side is 0.3. That means this is 0.3, 0.3, 0.3. What is the volume of a shape like that? Multiply the three sides according to this equation. Length times width times height. A times B times C. It says right here. So the volume is going to be length times width times height. I like it better than A times B times C. That's 0.3 times 0.3 times 0.3, which is 0.027 cubic inches. .027. And the last problem, we got a right triangle. The hypotenuse is 26 yards. One of the legs is 24 yards. Doesn't really matter which one. And what was the other leg? We'll call that A. Hypotenuse always C. A, B, and C. So we're going to use C squared equals what? A squared plus B squared, Pythagorean theorem. 26 squared equals 24 squared plus B squared. Now what is 26 squared? When you multiply it by itself. 676. What's 24 squared? 576. Now again, we need to subtract 576 from both sides to isolate the B. $100 equals B squared. What number, if you multiply it by itself, the answer is 100? Or what positive number? 10. So B is the square root of 100. That's what that means, which is 10. 10 times 10 is 100.